This is our Vision Sunday. Now, Vision Sunday, if you've never been part of a church's Vision Sunday, it's a moment to pause as a church and see where God is leading us next. So today, we're going to look ahead to see how God wants to shape the Bridge Church in Corona in the year 2026. Now, before we do that, I am going to continue our journey through the Gospel of Luke. We started Luke in December. We went through the Christmas stories in the book of Luke. And today we are going to go to one of these passages that most of us usually skip when we're reading the Bible. It's a genealogy. So if you've ever read the Bible before, it's a list of names. Now, you might be a big Bible nerd, you might not be, but most of the time people look at that list and they say, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and skip that because it's a list of names that perhaps you can't pronounce, you don't recognize, easy to overlook. You know, genealogies are the sections of Bibles that most of us skip. Who here has Netflix? Anybody have Netflix? Okay, yes, perfect. So on Netflix, if you're watching a TV series, a TV show, it always gives you that option to skip ahead. You want to skip the last episode or the last recap of the series. Well, this part right here is usually the part that people want to skip ahead. They don't really want to read what's going on in the genealogy stories. Let me explain. For me, I'm watching Netflix or Prime Video or whatever app I use. I'm watching, and if it says skip ahead, because I don't want to watch the recap, I always skip ahead. I don't know why, I always skip ahead. Because in my mind, I'm like, I don't need a recap. My mind remembers everything. 2 minutes into the show, do you know what happens? I start going to my wife, hey, who's that guy? Didn't that guy die in the last season? And every time my wife is like, just watch the recap. I wanted to watch the recap. You did not want to. So you start to realize maybe skipping the recaps on some of these shows isn't such a great idea because what you thought was going to be boring is actually necessary to understand what's happening now. This is exactly what's going on in the genealogy story here that Luke gives us. You know, these things seem boring and skippable and unnecessary, but in this case, what Luke is writing, we need to read this stuff because he doesn't want us to miss an important plot detail. Yes, it's a list of names that you might not be able to pronounce, but it's a list of names of people who were faithful and flawed, people with known names and forgotten names, people who had it all together and people who absolutely didn't. This list of names is going to show us something so important this morning that God's mission has never been small, never been closed off. The mission of God has always been to make room for more people, for the broken, for the searching, for the overlooked. So today, I want to show you how Jesus' genealogy doesn't just tell his story, it tells ours. It tells us how we fit into this whole thing, how we are invited in to this whole thing, how God is still working through ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And if that's how the mission of God has always worked, it has to work like that in this church too. And that leads me to our 2026 theme. We need to make room for the mission. Make room for God's mission. And I want to say this very clearly to everyone in this room, everyone online right now. This is not just going to be a cute, fancy slogan for this church. It's going to be a lens of how we make decisions. When we make a decision, we're going to think, does this decision make room for God's mission? We're going to use this lens to think about people and space and time and our resources. Does this make more room for God's mission? And this year, we believe God is calling us to make room in our hearts, in our schedules, in our relationships, and yes, in our building that was just brought up right now. Not because numbers are the goal of this church, but because faithfulness to the mission is and what God calls us to do. So before we start talking about plans and goals, because we have those, I want to show you how we're going to live this out through the gospel, through Jesus Christ. And the first way of doing that is very simple. We make room by inviting. We make room by inviting others. Okay, so I am going to go to the scripture. We're not going to read all 30-something names in this genealogy right now. I don't want to stall our time, not because they're not important, but because Luke didn't write this so we would get stuck on pronunciation of Hebrew names. I just want to make sure we are understanding the mission and why he wrote this. So we're going to do a recap, just like I brought up before. This is going to be Luke's previously on the story of Jesus. Was that good? Was that good narrating right there? Previously on the story of Jesus. Are you ready? Because I don't want to go halfway through and then you're like elbowing your spouse or your friend, your neighbor. What guy is that? Didn't that guy die in the last episode? Skip ahead. No, we're not going to skip ahead, okay? So here we go. Let's pull up the scripture. Not every name. We're going to start with the people we know. Okay, so we got Jesus, right? Starts with Jesus. Then Luke hits, rewinds. Then you see Joseph. So we know who Joseph is. If you don't, we brought him up in December. This is the Christmas stuff, right? You got Mary, Joseph, the angels. It's that Joseph. Then let's keep going. Oh, I love that guy. Mattathias. You guys like Mattathias? You know a lot about Mattathias? No one does. It's okay. It's just a name. That's so fine. It's fine. It's okay. Because there's not a lot about Mattathias. Let's keep going here. Who else do we got here? Ooh, Zerubbabel. I love Zerubbabel. I was going through all these names with my wife yesterday, and I said Zerubbabel, and she said, that's what we're going to name our next dog. And I said, I love that. Come on, Zerubbabel. Sit. I love that name. So Zerubbabel was a leader that God used to rebuild what was broken after the exile. A lot of these names have so much meaning, and some of them are just names we don't know much about. Let's keep going. We got David. We know David, right? King David. Keep going. So we're going through now. We're going through. You got Jacob, Isaac, Abraham. Let's keep going. We got, right, Shem. We got Noah. We're getting some names we're seeing here. And then we go finally to, let's see, Adam, son of God. Okay, so let's stay there for a moment. This is Luke's way of telling us. This isn't just Israel's story. This isn't just a religious story. This is not just a church story. This is humanity's story. By ending on Adam, okay? This is humanity's story because Adam, the first human, he related to all of us here. So Luke wants to make this clear who the mission is for. Everyone. Everyone. So, who here has ever done a family tree? A family genealogy. Anybody here, it got really popular a couple years ago where you would do the DNA kit even, or the spit kit and all this different stuff. And people want to trace back where their family lines go because somewhere deep down, we all want to believe that we're related to someone important, right? So let me say, I'm pretty sure I'm related to Thomas Jefferson. Hey, don't fact check that. Let me keep it. But that's what my grandma always told us. So we're like some sort of distant cousin of Thomas Jefferson. Whatever, okay? Now, my grandma did this whole family tree years ago, and she traced it back, and we have a bunch of Kennedys in my family. We got a bunch of Haydens. If you don't know my last name is Hayden. I don't know why we threw off the O. The O's kind of fun. I kind of want to bring them back. Hayden. I'm telling you, St. Patrick's Day is a lot cooler if my last name is Hayden. But here's the thing. We don't do family trees because we're bored. A lot of times we do them because we're asking the question, how did I get here? When you look through a family tree, don't just see names, you see stories, right? Stories of sometimes people of faith, stories of struggle, stories of people who made choices that shape the next generation. And so this is why I bring this up right now, because there were people long before you were born that perhaps prayed for you because they were praying for the next generation. Maybe They even made a way for you. They quietly shaped your life in ways that you didn't even realize. You know, some names, if you look back, maybe you don't even know who they are, never even heard of them. Or maybe you don't know much about them, or maybe you're not proud of some of the things. Some of the names perhaps you don't want to talk about, but all of them played a role in how you got here. And this is exactly what Luke is doing. Right before Jesus goes out on his mission, Luke pauses the story and he asks the question that all of us ask: how did we get here? Where does this all come from? And he traces his family line back, and you see generations of faithfulness and promises and prayers and proclamations of who our God is, which tells us something powerful about Jesus' genealogy and our genealogy. No one walks into this world is an accident. You are not an accident. You are not random. You are not a mistake. If you are here today, you are not here by coincidence. You are here because God makes room for people in his family. You're not a mistake. And it gets better. Through Jesus Christ, we are adopted sons and daughters. So we read this genealogy, right? And then Jesus comes along. He's like, yeah, I'm bringing you in. I want you in this family, in this story, in this mission. I want you to be with me and belong. You have purpose that existed way before you were ever born. You were brought in. You were included. You were welcomed. And that's why this matters so much. You know, Jesus traces the story all the way back to Adam, but the mission doesn't stop there. And it doesn't stop just with Jesus. It keeps going through us, through Jesus, through the Holy Spirit, which means now we're part of this continuing story. The family line doesn't stop with us. It continues forward. It keeps going, which means we're also invited to keep the spiritual family line going. You. Me. We're invited to keep this line going, and you can be a part of this and add to it by inviting others. You are not interrupting other people's lives by telling them, inviting them to come to church, to know who Jesus is. You're just extending family. You're just giving an invitation. Hey, come join this family. This is a great family to be in. There's room for you, but there's room for me. There's room for you. And when we make room for the mission, man, you see that God's family continues to grow and grow and grow, which leads me to my first goal for us as a church in 2026 is we're going to make room by inviting, and I want to invite you guys in on this with us. I want to invite 6 people. I want each person in this room, online right now, just invite 6 people this year. Not all at once, not aggressively. I don't want to hear stories about you're dragging someone here. Just naturally through prayer, just come sit with me. Very easy. Neighbors and or friends or family members or coworkers. And this statistic came out yesterday, which pumps me up because I know the Holy Spirit's working and the churches are saying the same things I am. Did you know that 82% of people would come to church if someone invited them? That's the statistics as of 2026. Didn't used to be that way. Right now, in our generation, this year, 82% of people, coworkers, friends, family, would come to church if you just invited them. Man, if you were a note taker, write that down. 82%? That's a high number just to be like, you want to go to church? You're probably going to get a yes. 82% chance of a yes back. You might get a no. I get no's all the time. You tried. That's okay. But if you get a yes, you are part of expanding God's family and his mission by inviting people in. And church, I don't want this to feel heavy on you because 6 people, I don't know. That's one person every other month. Just inviting them to come to church. I don't want to put that kind of pressure, but it's such a beautiful thing when you have someone come to church and you see their lives changed. And as a church, we're going to do our part too. Let's go to the next one. We're going to do this through mailers, social media, community presence. The goal is simple, to reach every home in the Temescal Valley area. And if your mind immediately goes, well, that seems like a lot, let me explain. I just want every home in the Temescal Valley area to know there's a church back here. I don't want them just to think about this area and they're like, oh yeah, the 80s club? No, I want them to know that their God's church is back here, okay? There's a church back here that loves Jesus, that welcomes the broken, that shines the light of Christ through the community. That's my goal, okay? That's my goal. And now, for some of you, I'm going to give you a little bit harder of a challenge, but I'm praying this happens. It's a deeper yes. In the book of Luke, we're in Luke this year. There's a section in Luke 10 where he sends out 72 people, 2 by 2, ahead of him to prepare the way. Well, I want to also send out 72 people to prepare the way for people to get to know Christ. And I'm going to call this the 72. Just it's a little more intentional. This is not for the faint-hearted. It's just, simple examples of sending someone a sermon clip, sending someone a worship song you heard and you're like, man, this is beautiful. You got to listen to this. Sending someone a Bible verse or devotional and that you're like, this reminds me of you. I know you're going through a season. Here you go. Or just anything like that, just for them to know Christ, is to create openings. That's all I'm asking. And if that stirs in you, we have a sign-up sheet in the back to join the 72, or you can sign up on our church center. Now, I'm going to walk with you on this one. I'm going to be part of this 72, and we're going to be talking throughout the year of some of the things we want to do to prepare the way for people to know Christ and to come in the church. I fully believe there's not even whispers of a revival anymore. The younger generation is coming to Christ. It's happening. So I want us to go out there and make sure that they're hearing about who Christ is and be that real thing for them. So if that's you, pray over it, sign up, let me know. It's going to be awesome. And that's the first goal. And so if you're starting to think right now, invite 6 people. I don't know, man. If I invite them, I don't think they're going to want to come, right? I'm a wreck. I'm a mess. What? Invite 6 people? I can't invite 1. They're not going to want to come with me. I'm telling you that right now. Don't worry. Luke has already thought about that. Let me explain. Because when Luke traces Jesus' family line, he doesn't clean it up. He leaves it messy. Which leads me to this. Invitation opens the door, right? But what about the welcome when they come here? All who come here, what's our welcome going to look like? So that's my second thing I want to bring up right now. Make room by welcoming people. We have to welcome them. This is one of my favorite points. It hits very close to my heart. So if you slow down and read this genealogy, you're going to notice something about Jesus' family line here. This is not a clean family tree. This includes leaders who have failed. It includes people who have drifted from God. It includes names and that history barely remembers. Luke could have erased something, right? He could have erased some of this stuff. He doesn't, because the point isn't perfection. The point is God's grace in our lives. God doesn't need a clean family tree to start the rescue mission now. Let me show you. We're going to bring the scripture back up. I'm not going to do the whole thing again, but let me show you some guys. Some of these people we know. These are family names we know. We got David, King David, a man after God's own heart. There's also a man who had an affair, right? Who had someone killed for that affair and then tried to cover it up. King David. Let's keep going. We got Jacob. Jacob was a liar. He's a manipulator. He's a guy that was tricking his own family to get ahead. This is on the family tree here. One more time. Adam. We're in this whole mess because of Adam. All of us. Okay? This genealogy tells us something. God's mission moves forward through people who blow it publicly. God's mission moves forward through imperfect humans. You should be thinking, okay, that makes me feel a little better now. Because if I'm honest, that family tree feels a lot more like my family tree, right? There's some people in my family have big regrets, quiet compromises, seasons that we wish we could erase. as a family. And Luke looks at that. He's like, yep, that's family. That's how this works. God works through real people with real messes and real stories. And that shapes the church that we are. We don't exist just for people who already believe. We don't exist for people who just behave the right way. We don't exist just for people who already belong. We have to make room for the curious, for the disappointed, for the wounded, for the skeptical, for the searching, for the messed up, for people still trying to figure this all out. Because if God made room for that family tree we just read, he's going to make room in our church. Let me tell you right now. Let me ask you a question. If you've been here for a few years or maybe just a few months, whatever it might be, do you have a favorite spot you like to sit in? Yes, you do. I do too, okay? In the first service, I sit back there in the very back. That's where I like to worship. Listen, I came from a Lutheran church, and Lutherans, we sit in the back. You know, we don't got a lot of rhythm. All right, we sit in the back. We don't sit up front. That's for the charismatic Pentecostal people, okay? But seriously, we all have our spots, all right? We have our favorite side, our favorite area, our favorite row. Some of you walk in already headed to your area, not even looking around, and you walk in and someone's in your spot, and you're like, I'm watching church on TV today, I guess. It's an online day. We are creatures of comfort, and this is where it gets real. Because most of us are completely comfortable saying, everyone's welcome at church, right? You see the signs. We are family here. We love that idea until everyone actually starts showing up. Until someone's in our seats, in our space. They don't know how church works yet. They don't talk like us or look like us. That's where we start having problems. Luke's genealogy reminds us all of something uncomfortable but true. God has always welcomed messy people. The question isn't whether God is going to make room for them. The question is whether we will make room for them. And I'm telling you, as the pastor of this church, would you have welcomed me in my 20s? Black skinny jeans, hole in it, mohawk, all the things. Trying to figure out if I even believed this whole thing. Well, I was trying to figure it out. I did not look Christian. Lord knows I sure did not sound Christian. But I'm telling you right now, I am making room in this church for people like me, the outsider, the ones who are just trying to find God and belong and find his love. That's the part of the family genealogy that I love, man, the messed up part, because we're all a little messed up. And if that's the kind of family Jesus comes from, messy and complicated and unfinished, then that has to shape our church, which brings us to a second goal this year. How do we make room by welcoming? Well, it looks like this. Sit next to someone you don't know. That's tough, huh? That's tough for me, too. Learning someone's name and then using it. Got to do that. Introduce yourself instead of waiting to be introduced. Invite someone to coffee or lunch after church. That's even a step ahead. That's a little tougher. Just make space for people still trying to figure things out. That's what I'm praying for you guys. Make space. Because for some people, walking through those doors is the bravest thing they can do all week. So that's our second goal. We invite, we welcome. And then so we got people in, right? Welcome them here. But what about out there? You know, Jesus calls us to go out there. So how do we bring the gospel and God beyond these doors? How do we live like Jesus in the community? And that brings us to our next point here is we have to make room by serving others. So Luke ends the genealogy with Adam on purpose, as you've already picked up now. Adam failed in the Garden of Eden. He was tempted. He took what was forbidden. He distrusted God, and he was cast out. This is what the Bible calls the fall. what's happening here is Luke is setting up the contrast between Adam and Jesus. Adam was tempted in the garden, failed. The next chapter we're going to read next week, that's where we're going to be next week, Jesus will face some temptation in the wilderness. He does not fail. He overcomes. And then he sets out on his earthly mission of restoring the world from the fall of Adam. Jesus is all about restoration. He's in the business of restoration, okay? So where Adam gave in, Jesus stood. Where Adam said, my will, Jesus said, your will. When Adam's failure led to exile, Jesus has led to restoration. He came to restore what was lost in all of our lives. He came to redeem it, our families, our lives, our hope, our communities. Restoration all the way around. The mission of Jesus is that, restoration. And so if that is his mission, we as a church are his vehicle. And so this is where you and I come in. Jesus doesn't restore the world from this distance. He uses people to accomplish these goals. He uses ordinary, imperfect, still growing people to bring restoration into broken places. You and me, we are vessels of God. Vessels. We carry hope and healing and light to this world. This light that is real. It should be real. Not because we're perfect, but because that same grace that restored us now flows through us. So there's some things we did in our church last year that I want to show us. Because last year we didn't just gather here. We served. We served families in need. We gave time and food and efforts and presence. This wasn't a side project. This was a mission. And so this is what it looks like when the gospel leaves the building and brings restoration to the community around us. Let me see if we have a slide for this. So in 2025, we gave approximately 8,000 pounds of food distributed, around 7,000 meals provided to local families. We blessed 4 local elementary schools. 150 teachers and staff were given cupcakes from the Bridge Church on the first week of school. We gave backpacks to Safe Center, turkeys for families. We had Inspiration Aged Out Foster Care and Angel Tree donations. Let's keep going. That's right. 59 people volunteered to support VBS and 60 kids worshiping Jesus. The Youth Bridge volunteered at the Unbound concert in Corona High School. Women's ministry had over 50 people walk for combat cancer and had countless lives prayed over. We had people praying out there for people on this walk. People volunteered at Temescal Valley Fair and blessed the community with prayer there. We had a prayer station there also, trying to get out into our community. Let's keep going. Youth Bridge blessed 6 different fire stations with pumpkin pies for Thanksgiving. That was fun. I like that. Kids Bridge donated over 100 toys and partnered with local fire stations for Christmas. And the Bridge of Blessings adopted 32 families and 74 kids for Christmas. So this is just a thank you from the Corona Local Parent Center. We got a bunch of cards, and I just want to let you guys know something. We're not a mega church, obviously, and we don't have as much resources as that, but man, you get a group of people that care about their community to go out there and do something, God moves. God absolutely moves. And we have some pictures that I can't share for privacy reasons, but we were told there was this boy that was given a bike that someone donated for Christmas. We were told that this kid never smiles. And the picture my wife and I got to see this kid smile was the most beautiful thing ever. We are changing lives here through Christ by doing that through our community. Which leads me to our third goal, everybody. We are going to continue to commit to serve unhoused kids and families in the Corona Norco school districts. There are kids that are, couch surfing, living in cars and staying temporarily at hotels, etc. Kids who are going to school every day carrying more than backpacks, if you know what I mean. And God has given us this relationship and opportunity there, so we're going to lean into that. We're going to continue on with them. We're also going to start something new. I'd like us to begin doing something called For the City Weekends. This is going to be a quarterly outreach weekend where every 4 months we have these focused weekends that we as a church family lean in together to do one small act of kindness. All of us, just one small act of kindness. Pay it forward moments in the sense of buying someone a coffee behind you at the Starbucks line, right? Has that ever happened to any of you guys before? It's awesome. You pull up and they're like, the car before you paid for you. Sweet, thank you, right? Filling up a gas tank, getting groceries for someone, supporting local events like youth sports or arts or fundraisers, walks like we did last year. Maybe it's yard work for a widow or single parents. One act of kindness together. And if that is something that you're interested in, I'm so excited for us because we believe small acts done together makes big impact, doesn't it? It reminds our city and reminds us that church isn't just something that happens on Sunday. It's an everyday type of thing for us. So we're going to have a chalkboard in the back. You're going to see in the lobby in the next couple weeks, where I want you to write down just some simple ideas. Buy a coffee, whatever your ideas are. So when those weekends come, you give other people ideas of what we can do. Then we're going to try to track this together and to see how much through Jesus we can affect our community. This isn't about performance. This is about restoration, right? Restoration does not happen at a distance. It happens when churches show up with humility and consistency and love. And when that happens, people get a glimpse of Jesus. And that's what we're trying to do here. Just give people glimpses of Jesus. Amen? All right, so that's the two things: inviting, welcoming, serving. Three things: serving. So what about right here in the church? Let's get there. This is our next one. How can we make room by being together? All right, we need to make room together. Let's talk about it. Keep that together up there. This wall is coming down, like Barry said. I asked Barry, where's Barry at? I asked Barry, can I put a hole in this wall this week? He told me no. So I'm still a little mad at him for this. One of these weeks, I'm getting the go-ahead, and it's going to be during the message. I'm putting a hole through that wall, okay? But I need you to hear this clearly. This year's theme is spiritual, but obviously it's also physical. It's tied into the name, make room for the mission. The wall is literally coming down, but this isn't just about construction. It's about continuation. We just went through this list of names that Luke gave us, right? Name after name, generation after generation. Here's the thing about genealogies. They're never just written for the people in them. They're written for the people that come after. A genealogy is a way of saying this story doesn't stop with them or with us. And that's what this wall in this next room means and represents: continuation. Every generation has a decision to make. Do we just preserve what we love, or do we prepare for who's coming, who's next? Are we going to hide behind our walls, or do we say, let's make room for people we haven't even met yet? People are going to come. Because here's the truth: most of us are here today because someone chose mission over preference. Someone made room. Someone welcomed you. Someone said, come to the family of God. Someone built something that you didn't even pay for. You just got to show up. Someone sacrificed so you could belong. That's the beautiful thing about God's family and God's church. We're not the beginning of the story. We are a link in the chain of God's story. So when this wall comes down, what link do we want to be in this story? The question I want you sitting with this week is, what are you making room for? Are you making room for more people to bring to God's family? Are you making room for kids? Are you making room for ministry to expand? Are you making room for the mission to grow? Not because we want just bigger church, but the mission requires space. And one day, those people that we invite and we welcome here, we make them together with us, will be part of the story too. This is the link I'm talking about, which brings me to our fourth goal here. And I want you to understand this idea. I'll explain it. 2 services, 1 commitment. All right. When we tear down this wall, guess what? We are going back to 2 services. Which means we're going to need help from the family, from you guys. There's going to be more room, clearly. More entrances, more everything. That means we need some more volunteers, some more help for a season, especially if you're new. what I'm asking you to do is very simple. Attend one service and serve at another. Pretty easy. Just sit in one and then serve in another. So maybe you're worshiping early and you serve a little later, or you actually serve early and then you worship a little later. An example is greet at one service, then, worship in the next. Do Kids Bridge one service, do worship in the next. It's a beautiful thing. And honestly, so many people in here already do that. It's a blessing to see all of us work side by side. We have people in here that's been doing 3 services together, and they stay at every single one of them and have to listen to me every single service. Lord, thank you for them. That's some crazy stuff. That's crazy stuff. So just try it for a season. See if it's something that you enjoy, you want to serve, you want to plug in. Awesome. The next practical way that ties into the first one is come early and stay late. Not all day, not forever, just 10 minutes before or 10 minutes after service. You know what I've learned about church? The most meaningful moments don't happen during the sermon. They happen in the lobby, right? They happen before the music starts or after the last song. That's where names get learned and stories get shared, where new people stop feeling invisible. So we're just asking for your presence, just to build a family. You don't need to rush, just for a season. And I know what some people are already thinking in here, right? You're already panicking. The introverts, like, yeah, right. I'm not doing that. I'm not asking you to be an extrovert all of a sudden. I'm not asking you to walk the lobby. I'm not asking you to meet 10 people every Sunday. I'm not asking you to be loud. Just be present. That's it. Just be present. Just be a person that's here and available. So those are the goals. We grow, the wall comes down, people show up. I want to make something very clear before we keep going, before we end this message. Systems won't create belonging. So, for a long time, churches have thought programs and systems, which are good things. They are. But they don't create belonging. It's not about the signage. It's not about the branding. It's not about the gigantic announcements. It's about people. It's about you and me coming together as God's family. Let me tell you, when I was in my 20s and I was looking for churches, I wouldn't care about branding. I didn't care about signage. I didn't care about any of that stuff. All I cared about was learning about Jesus Christ and what church was, the people that follow Jesus. What did life look like if you follow Jesus? That is what's going to create healthy, growing churches. That is what that's how families grow. This is how the mission moves forward, through people. So I just don't want to get bogged down in the things, in the hype. It's about us working through Christ together to bring restoration to our lives and the lives around us. And so I want to close by inviting you into all of this. I'm not asking you to sign anything on the way out. Don't worry. I'm just asking maybe just for a yes in your heart, a yes before God for just a season. No pressure, no hype, just an invitation about everything we talked about, the genealogy, the mission, the wall coming down. It all comes down to God is always going to make room, and he's inviting you to be involved too. So my first invite is this, just to join the mission. If you're here today and you've been wondering, is there really a place for me? Not just a seat, but like a purpose. Answer is yes. And if you just want to sit there and just learn about God, do it, because that's what I needed for a season too. That's part of God's mission, is to learn about him. We need you. We need your prayers. We need your presence. We need your faith. We need you. This is a season to even step in that way. So if you've been circling, watching, and waiting, it's the moment to say, I'm in. I want to learn more about God. I want to learn more about God's mission. I'm ready. The second invite today is into these practical steps that we've given you. Inviting someone, welcoming someone, serving our city, making room together. One step, one opening, a simple, yes, God, I want to be part of those type of goals. I want to be part of this great commission here. If that's you, that's the invite, that's the yes I want you to be praying over. And then the third invite is the most important of them all. It's saying yes to Jesus right off the bat. Like, some of you need to hear that even more personally today. Luke ends the genealogy with Adam to say that this story includes everyone, the faithful, the messy, the outcast. Your name belongs in this story. You don't have to clean yourself up to join this family. Join the family and God will do the work. This is how this happens. So if you've never said yes to Jesus, or if you have drifted or wandered or pulled away, today is your moment to step into that grace, to step into that forgiveness, to step into the family again. There's room for you. There's room for your story. There's room for your yes.